Adam had always been a good student. Quiet, polite, consistently top of his class. He graduated high school with honors and a tidy stack of awards and medals that his mother displayed in the hallway like family heirlooms. He'd grown up under the microscope of concern, an upbringing shaped not by discipline but by scrutiny, disguised as love. His mother wasn't cruel. She was vigilant, endlessly worried, and always convinced she knew what was best for him. College gave Adam his first taste of freedom. He hadn't even wanted to go. He wanted to be a woodworker like his late father. His best memories were in the workshop, easing anxiety with each carve and cut. But she'd already had him registered and tuition was paid, so college it was. Distance came as a rush to him, though. Overwhelming. Without her daily reminders, her sighs of quiet disapproval, Adam felt like a zoo animal being introduced to the wild. He enjoyed college up until his final year, when he came to the realization that he couldn't see himself pursuing a career based on a degree he hadn't chosen for himself. The thought of being trapped in a lifeless future filled him with a sense of dread. He almost flunked his final year. His mother showed up unannounced, marching into offices with ironed blouses and worried eyes, pleading with professors to give him another chance. She spun stories of hardship and sacrifice, that Adam was purposely doing bad in school because he didn't get what he wanted, and turning his academic crisis into her personal drama. She cried outside his advisor's office as if he'd betrayed her. He heard later some professors pitied her, not him. From that day on, he dreaded her appearances. She'd corner strangers and talk about how life has never been easy for us, like his very existence was another burden she'd nobly borne. She cried often, loudly, and always in public. The tears weren't grief, they were guilt, repackaged. People didn't look at Adam with sympathy, just quiet judgment. But somewhere in that chaos, he clawed back. He graduated, barely, still with that nagging sense that his life's direction wasn't his own. He landed a job in an advertising firm. The environment was fast-paced, loud, drenched in ambition, and brimming with the promise of success. Adam made some friends along the way. People who seemed genuinely kind, who shared drinks after work, laughed together and talked about their dreams of climbing the corporate ladder. But there was always something off about it. The endless rhetoric of "we're a family here," the tight-knit team bonding exercises, pizza parties, the forced groupthink that constantly circled around the idea of loyalty, of being a part of something bigger than just a paycheck. It never sat well with him. No matter how good the company was, how supportive his colleagues seemed, Adam couldn't shake the discomfort. It felt too much like being expected to belong to something he couldn't quite fit into. So after 11 years of clenching his teeth through workplace pep talks, he left. Freelancing was less money but more freedom, and above all, solitude. It was the kind of freedom he cherished, where his only commitment was to his own space, his own time, and his own thoughts. No more obligatory family dinners or constant affirmations of togetherness, just the calm, isolating quiet he longed for. On the side, he hosted a horror podcast. Ghost stories, creepypastas, and interviews with self-proclaimed ghost hunters, psychics, and occult enthusiasts. He didn't believe a word of it. Not really, but he never said that aloud. One thing he did take away from that college degree he never really wanted is that money follows trends, and right now horror is where it's at. The audience loved the spooky vibes, and the views kept coming. He'd heard it all. Skinwalkers, demons from different dimensions, haunted mirrors, cursed amusement parks, evil clowns. None of it fazed him. It was entertainment. Characters in masks, stories stitched together in the dark. But one night, during a live stream episode, a guest asked him what truly scared him. Adam paused. And then he told them, the thing that made his stomach sink, the thing that lived in the corners of his mind, wasn't a ghost or a creepy doll or some pale-faced child from a haunted photo. It was the sound of his mother's voice, muffled from the next room, worrying, always worrying, that he was falling behind. Adam runs his podcast out of a room he converted into a studio. Each episode lasts a couple of hours, usually from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., every Wednesday and Sunday. After recording, he likes to wind down with his guests, drinks, small talk, and a few more hours of conversation before they head home. Outside the podcast, he works as a marketing advisor for small local businesses. It's flexible, just a few hours of work a day, which leaves him with a lot of free time. He's alone, but never lonely. Adam loved his quiet, precious, hard-earned silence. It was the kind of peace he had fought for, paid for, and even starved for. He knew his apartment like the back of his hand. It felt like an extension of himself. A small kitchen, a roomy living area, a narrow hallway leading to 2 rooms and a surprisingly generous bathroom. He could navigate it blindfolded, just by listening. From the north, the city's pulse, honking cars, street chatter. To his right, the muffled chaos of the neighbors, a family of 4, kids' toys clattering, water rushing through old pipes. The hallway to the south, with the occasional footsteps and the jingle of keys. And to his left, silence. A solid brick wall at the edge of the building. That was his favorite spot, the quietest. That's where his favorite sofa sat. Until the voice came back. It was faint, muffled, like someone speaking through a pillow in the next room. He first noticed it while brushing his teeth. He'd paused, foam gathering at the corner of his mouth, toothbrush still in hand. There it was, familiar, a gentle murmur. He rinsed, spit, held his breath. Nothing. Adam checked the walls. Could be the next-door neighbors, but the voice wasn't theirs. A guest, maybe? It sounded very familiar. Nostalgic, but not the good kind of nostalgic. It was his mother. She wasn't dead. This wasn't that kind of story. Helen was alive and well, living 3 towns over in a perfectly kept house filled with doilies, plastic fruits in woven baskets, and self-help books. She texted often, never just casual hellos, but layered reminders about savings, vitamins, marriage. Her messages were like checklists disguised as affection. There was always an implied disappointment, an invisible bar he hadn't reached. Adam used to laugh at those. Now he ignored them. But the voice didn't come from her phone. It came from somewhere much closer. It started happening more often. In the shower. As he stirred his coffee, always in those half-aware moments when he wasn't thinking about anything. The words weren't cruel. They were worse than that. They were laced with concern, thick with judgment. Not insults, never that obvious, but loaded phrases about his lifestyle, his choices. He tried sleeping with the TV on, started leaving podcasts, playing into the early hours of the morning. Distraction was key, but the more noise he fed into his ears, the louder the muffled voice became. It didn't need volume, it needed space. It reminded him of his childhood. Those nights in bed when his mother didn't know he was listening. She'd be on the phone, maybe with an aunt, maybe a friend, always behind the closed door of the kitchen, her voice low, breathy with anxiety and passive judgment. She never shouted, never struck him. She hovered, questioned, reworded every decision he made like it was a mistake he hadn't realized yet. She was always worried for his future, his posture, his friends, his tone of voice. Her concern was constant, oppressive. It wasn't discipline. It was suffocation through affection. Adam tried visiting her. Maybe he needed to talk it out. Her home was exactly the same, orderly, faint scent of lavender, motivational calendars on the fridge. She smiled, hugged him, commented on how tired he looked. Not a question, an observation. She commented on his weight, his clothes, his skin, asked about his meals, his love life, his podcast that she treated as nothing but a hobby, not with interest, but with a quiet undercurrent of worry that felt more like blame. Back in his apartment, the voice became more persistent. It started sounding less like a memory and more like a presence. Not outright criticizing, just existing, always hinting, always disappointed, always gently nudging him toward a version of himself she could approve of. He began finding notes on his desk, to-do lists he didn't remember writing, reminders in his own handwriting, urgent, slanted, slightly unfamiliar. He hadn't written them, not consciously anyway, but they mirrored her expectations perfectly, neatly organized, impossibly optimistic. Each one a whispered reprimand for how little he'd done. He stopped responding to texts, stopped answering calls, but the voice came anyway. It didn't need permission. He ripped out the insulation in the walls, tore into drywall. Nothing. No wires, no speakers, no signs of tampering. He was about to smash down the solid brick wall too, until his landlord threatened eviction. Adam just smiled, said he needed the space to breathe. Then the voice changed. It no longer sounded muffled, no longer distant. It spoke clearly now in rooms where no one else stood. It came from nowhere and everywhere. He tried therapy, admitted that the voice he heard wasn't threatening, that it came from love, and that's what made it unbearable. He realized he had internalized her worry so deeply, it echoed in his bones. Her judgment had become his compass. He confronted her again. A simple meeting, safe, neutral ground. He brought up the past, the overheard conversations, the subtle needling, but it only confirmed what he already knew. Her concern had always been genuine, and that was the worst part. She didn't even know what she was doing. She thought she was saving him. The apartment felt heavier now, not darker, just fuller, like someone had moved in without bringing their things. He cleaned obsessively, rearranged furniture, deleted old projects, threw away drafts. The podcast stopped, but the voice never left. Sometimes it sounded like her. Other times it sounded like himself. One night he sat at his desk, cursor blinking on a blank document he hadn't worked in weeks. Every time he tried, the voice would come, not to criticize, but to guide, softly, lovingly, firmly. He closed the laptop, stared into the dark. The voice whispered one last time, promising it only wanted the best for him. He moved out the next day, left everything behind. To 3 towns over, in a perfectly kept house filled with doilies, plastic fruits in woven baskets, and self-help books. He just wanted the voices to stop, and now the voices were gone. The silence was complete, almost peaceful. He slept deeply his first night back. No whispers, no tapping in the walls, no notes in unfamiliar handwriting. Just a sharp smell of bleach and the faint hum of her old white noise machine outside his door. In the mornings he had tea, not coffee. She said caffeine made him anxious. He agrees. She'd always known what was best. He found himself repeating that often now. He stopped checking his phone, stopped logging into email. He didn't need it anymore. She said rest was important. He didn't go back to work, didn't want to. His mother said he'd been pushing himself too hard, that it was time to let go of all that noise. And he agreed. It felt easier now to listen. Sometimes he thought about the podcast, the empty apartment, the hollow voice echoing through drywall. But it all felt far away now, like something that had happened to someone else. Now, when he walked down the hall, her voice was no more.